Part 2. I was laid off on Christmas Eve. I originally did not want to do this video, but I promised a second video, and I left some things out that needed to be said probably. Although nothing really ever does need to be said. However, the stories are pretty good. So I'm checking for LinkedIn to see if my replacement had to be a vice president to actually replace me. Still works at that company and then move on, then jump ship, you know how they're doing over there. I noticed a couple things when I look at his entry. He finally updated it and put his a description down of what he's doing. I guess he worked there long enough, he didn't want to put something down there if he was going to leave in like 60 days, you know, and have like a really short thing. I noticed that his start date, he puts down October. And this guy never started in October. He wasn't on the payroll in October. He started in December. He technically started in January, but December was when he went into office to, you know, train and get his feet wet. October, I think, is when he was offered, but he had to move and relocate because he wanted to do his thing on site in office. So he wasn't even in the city yet in October when he claims. So, you know, and as LinkedIn is known for, we got people lying on their resumes here. And then secondly, you know, it's not like he was doing it to fill any gaps because he's got gaps in his resume here. So I don't know why he added 2 months, maybe technically really 3 months, because it wasn't even until the last week, pre-Christmas week, where he even did any contracts and whatnot. I think he updated an NDA. You know, big whoop, I got an international NDA a template I use all the time, 3 pages, you know, so I guess that took him a week. But the other interesting thing is, I look at the description he has for what he does at this company, and it's different than mine, and it's interesting because half of what I did at this place isn't on this guy's job description. It's, you know, a little bit generic. I mean, it's got the important stuff, but misses the whole point of running the contracts department for databases and keeping things up and whatever. And I can tell you why that is. And this was going to be the subject of this video before I even looked this up, because he never updated his profile until now. And that's because for weeks I was there and I was supposed to be training him. He refused to be trained. He was too good for it. This guy from, you know, his law school is probably like lower tier than mine, for example, years ago. I mean, he worked his way up through the contracting, but he refused to be trained. And it wasn't so much that he refused to be trained, but we had this coworker who's also a director, because everyone's directors and new managers and vice presidents and new directors and so on and so forth. There's no, you know, workers as supervisors in corporate America anymore. But we had a director who wanted to facilitate these meetings, and he would imagine, but the guy didn't know how to work a computer. Let me just put it that way, and I'm not exaggerating. So his training was, where are the files at? Something that he was working on for 8-9 months, maybe years actually, and he still had to ask where certain files were that he had access to, you know how to do it. So so the thing is, the training worked like this. First of all, my replacement never really contacted me and never asked me for anything. And thirdly, I really didn't want to train the guy to begin with, because I never got any training. I had like a couple-minute conversation with who I was replacing, and that guy moved on. I figured everything out myself. I had to make up a lot of contract templates myself and for archives and put them together. I had to fix, I must have done dozens and dozens and dozens of typos and grammar corrections and whatnot, these contracts that they were using for years. So of course, when it was my turn to sit there and we go through it, they went through a fine tune of components because, oh, were we doing this all these years? Yeah, you were, I fixed it. They looked like a bunch of dweebs. But, no. So he never got in contact with me. I did see a couple CCs of when he was taking over what I was doing for contract, as far as drafting negotiations goes and whatnot. And he was perfect. I call it perfect corporate. Corporate, every email has to be, I guess you can call it backhanded compliment, but, oh, what's the term for it? Anyway, every email had to be blaming someone for something, even when there was nothing to blame anybody for, to make yourself look better. If you've been there, you know what I mean. So he never really contacted me. I didn't train him on anything. We had I guess an errand something training. I mean, I would tell anybody anything they want because I guess I'm just a nice guy and I'm too nice. You know, I have no grudge against this guy or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that he didn't take advantage of anything. I don't know. I'm pretty sure right now that, you know, half of his stuff's probably lost. Or maybe he invented something and claimed no one else did it right. And it's funny because when I got there, no one did do anything right. And I had to resort the entire file system and folders and upload everything to a databases. I fixed the entire department single-handedly. As it was, I was the only one there, it was my department and whatnot. But this guy didn't, you know, doesn't know any of it, which is kind of funny. So we have we had training somewhere early on, and the director guy I was working with, I guess, was a facilitator, and he was asking, his whole thing was, where are these files at, where are these templates at? Nothing of, where do you upload this way after you sign it, who do you CC it, you know, do you have to send it to billing, do you give it to us, do you do, you know, nothing operations worthy, just where are the files, an error of where are the files. Now this guy was amazing, because I don't know where he was, what was taught to him. He was supposed to help me out on certain things if I get far behind or this and that. And a couple of times, you know, he did help and whatnot. But somewhere along the line, he became micromanaging just for sheer incompetence. So we had a system that I was one who started, essentially, because no one else used this until I got here. So I was lucky that they implemented this a week after I started, where all the emails are going to, like, you know, it's like an IT system, like a ticket system, you know. Everyone has access to it, so they can see how many files there are, how many outstanding tasks there are. You know, we have like a super duper backlog. I cleared that thing out in the first 3 weeks I was there. You know, they had a weekly recurring meeting with like all these stakeholders. Where are we at with this? What we need with this or whatever. They canceled it because I called up. I never fell behind in anything. So anyway, they have this thing. The system would CC an email, which is kind of annoying, quite honestly, of every time someone would email the system. So someone would ask, like, you know, for example, of, you know, hey, did we get this back signed? Or, hey, can you look at this? Does this say what I think it says? Simple things that were used, for example. Some things more complicated. Things that would take me 2 seconds, I would look it up, I would CC a copy. Hey, do you have a copy of this? Can you give it to me? I would do it. 3 minutes later, I say the email, I would close the ticket. Later in the day, I would have to get a phone call of this guy saying, hey, did we do this? Did we do that? I'm like, I don't remember. Is it in the system? It's closed. You can see it's closed. You have the same access I do. Look it up. So, you know, these are the people who are like, when they work at home for whatever reason, they have a doctor's appointment or whatever, they have to make like a big announcement that they're working from home, and I can't do this now. I have to do it Monday when I'm back in the office. It's all digital. But beyond that, one time if a guy was having issues logging into some system for a client and have financials that only he could do it. Now I could get it, but he couldn't, which meant to me there was something wrong with his computer browser. You know, like you didn't reset cookies, clear, etc. for common stuff. You know, because why can I log in but he gets a blank page? That's obviously like a browser issue, cookies crash, you name it. So I say, you know, go contact IT, because I'm afraid, even if I do it for you, I'm afraid there might be something wrong with your system, and down the line you might have an issue. So I tell him to contact the help desk. You know who he contacts? He contacts the help desk from a client, not our people who he bothers all the time to try to give suggestions on how to improve a system that he's refusing to use. So he calls me 3 times a day for things I don't remember that I clear, and it's done. I would waste hours and hours a week on this guy. But he contacted IT to ask him what's wrong with his computer from a company he's not working for. So this is how the trading went. So, you know, so we had this for a little bit. I waited and waited. I did for work. I called up and, you know, whatever. Very last week before Christmas Eve, when I was fired, he took over. And, of course, like I said in my last video, I didn't get any PTO because apparently they don't give you PTO anymore of Cash App. It's not the state law. It has to be a state law for corporations to give you money. You know, so I don't get the holiday pay. I don't get the days off because I was scheduled to actually be off that week for my use it, you lose it days. So I wasn't working that week anyway, but now I'm off without getting paid for not working that week. On top of that, you know, of course I know a lot of accounting firms do this where they fire you a day before you're supposed to get a yearly bonus. You know, so they save a lot of money doing that too. You know, no severance or whatever. So, you know, they saved a lot of money on me. I was working cheap to begin with, so maybe I shouldn't work cheap anymore. But I mean, it was an easy job. But no, so the guy never contacted me about anything. And the funny thing is the very last day of work, this guy, the director, set up another meeting just to make sure that everyone's on the same page before I go. But this meeting was scheduled after I got a phone call from my boss, you know, wishing me good luck, goodbye, you know, and this and that. You know, very cordial. I mean, I like the guy. But my access is cut off right after that. I have a meeting. So I'm sitting there after, you know, I'm done. The computer's done. I'm cut off. The meeting was going to be, you know, oh, where's the files at? Where's the templates? Not, you know, after you get a signed file, what do I do with it? It takes me like a half hour. I got to upload it. I got to send it to all these people. I got to file. I got to change this. I got to do this, and that. I do all this administrative stuff that the last guy wasn't doing, either because he was too busy or he couldn't do it, you know, whatever. No one else ever did all this administrative stuff before. No one asked anything. I'm sure that was a thing, but the story is I'm cut off. I'm done. I don't work there anymore. I know my meeting's scheduled for this nonsense. And I start getting phone calls, my home phone, for the meeting, like for panic calls. I guess, you know, so what are you gonna do? You know, it wasn't to say goodbye or good luck. You know, none of these people, this is the funny thing about this place. It's the first place I've ever worked at where I do things, I have good relations with like a bunch of people. And yeah, I don't know if they know I was leaving. I don't know how long some of them knew I was leaving. I'm feeling some of them knew longer than ever. Some of them was just a surprise. Because the guy that the director took over for, he didn't know he was gone until Friday afternoon is usually what they do. I at least got notice. No, so like after if it got, you know, so when some other people get replaced, people are still emailing them. No one ever finds out they're gone. So, I don't know who knew I was gone or whatnot. So it's the first time ever I never got, other than my boss, I never got any goodbyes from anybody. You know, I think some of them, maybe they knew, but I don't know. Because his job title was different than mine. But, no, so this guy, it's not like he texted me to say goodbye, good luck, you know, this and that or whatever. He's going in a panic to find out where the files are that he knows, because he does it because he fills in for me if I'm out or, you know, if I was supposed to be sick or whatnot. And, so, you know, that's all we're going to say about that. So this is Jeff from Jeff Visits the Earth. If you want this or more corporate stories, I'll sprinkle them in here and there. I have a zillion of them. I feel like writing a book sometimes, even though it's more of a journal, corporate daily devotional. But what we really would like to do here, of course, is a little bit of daily travels, history. I like architecture, hotels especially. You can see what I do here on the channel lately. As I delete probably first 50 videos I ever made, so they'll never be seen again. We even have office history I could visit and talk about and whatnot. So if you like men of a certain age, you travel around on YouTube, whether it's locally or beyond, and give their opinions and insights about things. And if you want one who's a avid classic American book collector, I can give you different viewpoints and things and whatnot. As a former hospitality graduate, go ahead and give us a thumbs up.